Hey, and welcome to this week's Coffee Chat. I'm David Wasson, a certified estate planner, and I'm here with Alex Astin, another certified estate planner here at Burns Estate Planning Wealth Advisors. So, Alex, we're just going to chat a little bit about estate planning. Kind of what is it? Why do people need it? Some examples of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely necessary, right? It's not the most fun subject to talk about. A lot of people really actually avoid doing it as long as they can. But it's, in our opinion, it's something that's very necessary for everybody, right? It is to have your estate plan in order before you pass, right?
Yeah.
We're guaranteed two things in this life, right? Death and taxes.
Exactly.
Might as well prepare for both.
But one other thing too, estate planning entails more than just preparing for death. You've got other things in there, besides the staples that we'll get to, like the wills and the trust, everybody forgets about power of attorneys.
Yep.
That's a big key thing. And I'm sure most people at some point in time have gotten a power of attorney, but how many times have you sat down with people, especially in today's world with second and third marriages, where their power of attorney is someone that they probably don't like anymore?
Right. It's all, you see it often because just because you get that estate plan in order doesn't mean it's just set it and forget it.
No.
Right? Because things change. You might have a grandkid, another child. Like you said, might not like somebody anymore. You want to take a look at that estate plan at least once a year, if not more often than that, especially around big life changes.
Exactly.
Because you need to update those because you never know right what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's always important to have your affairs in order when it comes to what you want to happen with your estate when you're gone.
Right. And again, you never know when that's going to happen. I mean, a prime example of that is the situation that I had with my father I was his healthcare power of attorney. And if anyone has met me before, they know the story that I unfortunately lost both my parents back in 2020, 10 days apart from different types of cancer. But we had been battling with mom for 2.5 years. Dad, at that point in time, when she started getting towards the end, ended up quitting everything just to focus solely being on her caretaker. Didn't want to leave her side for anything. But, we happened to have a family lunch one day and was kind of complaining about some intestinal pain. So we were able to convince him to go get a checkup and see what's going on with him. And they ended up having to do some surgery because they saw something they wanted to biopsy. And of course, I was the healthcare power of attorney. So I went with my father to this surgery while my siblings stayed with my mother. And while they were in there and saw something in his intestines, so they were biopsying that. But then they noticed his liver had spots on it. Well, if he didn't have the healthcare power of attorney, they would have to sew him back up, wake him up, reschedule another surgery after he had healed and all of that. Well, turned out my dad has stage 4 liver cancer because I was able to give them permission to do it right then and able to start treatment immediately, so he was able to prolong his life and last long till mom. So
those things, we hear those stories all the time. Right. It's so important. Our opinion is, not everybody needs a revocable living trust, right? We see often purpose for it, but in our opinion, everybody at least needs a will. Everybody at least needs a healthcare power of attorney and a general power of attorney for your finances. I mean, those three things are daily occurrences in life. You have doctor's appointments, you have finances, you pay bills, and then ultimately, what do you want to happen when you pass, right? Those are absolutely necessary.
Exactly. And, honestly, you and I both live in Florida. So Florida's known for this case, but you also need that living will.
Yep.
For all those that forget, Terry Schiavo that happened in Florida. They had this lady that was brain dead, incapacitated, been that way for multiple years. Her husband wanted to pull the plug. Her parents didn't. Jeb Bush, who was the governor, had to step in. They had let a politician make a decision on what happens at your end of life. I mean, I'm not really involved in politics, but I know how crazy that is. I don't want one of those people making that decision. So why not make that yourself?
I do not want to be on the news saying my healthcare decisions were made by a governor. No. I want to make those decisions on my own. And 99% of the people that we meet with absolutely want to make those decisions before they pass. But if you don't do it, well, then sometimes you can run into situations like that.
Yeah, it's insane. But so, Alex, though, tell me about a situation where someone actually did need some more advanced estate planning besides that will that you maybe run across.
So when you look at advanced estate planning, we traditionally think of estates that are not considered small size estates, right? Which is typically under 100,000, 75,000 in the state of Florida, right?
Right.
Because most properties are worth that at least, right? So if you own your own home, you don't fall in that category. So often what you look at, like you mentioned earlier, or do we have a blended family, right? We often see, yep, this is my second spouse. My first spouse, either we're no longer together or she passed. And sometimes you find that the next spouse might not be a fan of the children. right?
Right. Or vice versa. Right. You know, I mean, the children might not like that new stepmother, you know,
right.
I mean.
So what you look at, it's basically you say, all right, well, as their father, I want my children to inherit some sort of this estate. If you don't put those in order, a lot of the time what happens is that surviving spouse takes over 100% of your assets. You're married, and then can leave, honestly, the children, maybe grandchildren out to dry. So that's one scenario that we look at. What's another one?
Well, I mean, you know, kind of continuing on that, I have another, you know, example of a client I sat down with that, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and it was a blended family like we talked about. And she has 3 adult children. He has 1 daughter from previous marriages. Her adult children love him, think of the world of him. And, you know, he's the best thing that's happened to their mother and can't get enough after meeting them. They just rave over him. The daughter, not so much, you know, has the replacement mother, not really sure. She's afraid that everything her father has is going to end up going to the new step siblings and everything. So one of the things I was able to do there is, because we decided to go with the trust route, we can customize those as much as we want to. So I was able to make the portions of their estate irrevocable at the death of a particular spouse. Certain things become irrevocable and automatically go. They don't have that joint tenancy anymore.
Exactly. You know? Such a good point, right? And, you know, other ways you look at estate planning is, right, how is your estate set up? Do you own multiple properties? Because what we've seen often is that if you own property in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, well, if you don't have
4 probates,
right? 4 probates, 4 probates. Probates are I've never heard anybody say that probate was quick, efficient, or fun. Right? No. It's none of those things. And essentially,
and then on top of that, you're having to do that when you're grieving the person that you loved and lost.
Right?
You know,
it's a lot, often what you see is someone that didn't have that in order ends up in a tangled web. Typically, what you see is one person handles the finances, the other one doesn't. So most of the time, when there's no assistance for that surviving spouse to take care of these things, they don't know what they're doing, and it's no fault to their own. It just wasn't the role that they played in their relationship. Yeah. So that's certainly one that you look at. Another is going to be if you have any grandchildren or children that you intend to give them some assets when you pass. If they receive any government benefits, right? Special needs type benefits.
Oh yeah, you know, you got to make sure you take care of the special needs children.
You have to, because you can lose government benefits if you receive a lump sum of money in a year. So you need to make sure you have all these affairs in order. That's just to name a few. Right. A few examples of why advanced estate planning can make sense. It's certainly worthwhile to come sit down, discuss, right? Does this make sense for you? Hey, Alex, I've got my wills, my powers of attorney. Do I need to go advanced estate planning? Do I need more? Well, for us to give you an accurate, good answer, we need to learn more about you and your estate.
We really do. I mean, estate planning is completely customizable to every individual. You know, I mean, I have yet to deliver any estate plan that's been exactly the same to one person to another. So, you know, like Alex said, if you got any questions about this, give us a call and we can sit down with you and see what we can do.